Right now, one of the most important developments in the Iran crisis is not happening at sea, and it is not happening in public speeches. It is happening underground. New satellite images suggest Iran is using the pause in fighting to clear damaged tunnel entrances, recover access to buried launchers, and restore parts of the underground missile network often described as its missile cities. In this video, we'll break down what the images appear to show, why that matters, and what it could mean for the next phase of the crisis. To understand why this matters, we need to start with what these missile cities actually are. Iran has spent years building underground missile facilities designed to protect launchers, missiles, and support equipment from air attack. These sites are important because they are meant to do two things at once: keep missile forces alive after a strike and allow Iran to keep launching even after part of its surface infrastructure is hit. Earlier reporting this year also showed Iran hardening and repairing key military and nuclear-related sites, including tunnel entrances and protected structures at places such as Parchin, Isfahan, Natanz, Shiraz South Base, and Qom Missile Base. That background is important because the current story is not about Iran starting from zero. It is about Iran trying to recover from damage. Recent intelligence-based reporting says Iran still retains thousands of missiles, even after major strikes reduced its stockpile and left many launchers destroyed, damaged, or trapped underground. U.S. and Israeli assessments reported in recent days suggest that more than half of Iran's launchers were knocked out of action in one way or another, but that some of the buried systems may be recoverable. That means the military question is no longer just how much damage was done. The question is, how much of that damage can be reversed? And this is where the satellite images become important. Reporting based on new commercial imagery says Iran has been removing debris from blocked tunnel entrances at underground missile bases during the ceasefire. One of the most closely watched examples is near Tabriz, where imagery from April 10th reportedly showed equipment working to clear an entrance that had been blocked in earlier strikes. Similar reporting says activity was also seen at another underground missile location, suggesting this is not just one isolated cleanup effort. The basic signal from the imagery is simple. Iran is trying to reopen access to parts of its underground missile network. Here's where it gets interesting. Clearing an entrance is not the same thing as fully rebuilding a missile base. But it is also not a minor detail. If underground launchers were buried rather than destroyed outright, then opening those tunnels again could allow Iran to inspect, recover, repair, and possibly return some systems to service. Recent reporting says U.S. intelligence believes Iran may be able to retrieve many buried launchers, even though other systems were likely destroyed beyond recovery. So the value of the images is not that they prove every missile city is fully back. The value is that they strongly suggest Iran is actively trying to restore operational access. That matters because underground missile infrastructure is one of the foundations of Iran's deterrence strategy. Iran cannot match the United States or Israel platform for platform in the air. It has long relied instead on survivability, dispersion, and the ability to keep enough missile capability alive to threaten retaliation even after being hit. Missile cities fit that strategy perfectly. They are designed to make preemption harder, reduce exposure, and complicate enemy targeting. So when satellite images suggest Iran is reopening those sites, the strategic message is clear. Tehran is trying to make sure its missile arm is still part of the equation going forward. There is another reason this story matters. The earlier campaign against Iran's missile network appears to have been real and serious. Commercial satellite imagery in March showed extensive damage to important Iranian government and military sites after the U.S. and Israel launched a major campaign. Separate reporting said the missile arsenal was cut roughly in half, and that daily firing capacity was sharply reduced. So if Iran is now clearing entrances and restoring access, that tells us two things at once. First, the strikes caused meaningful disruption. Second, Disruption is not the same thing as permanent elimination. This is the key point many headlines miss. A strike on an underground missile system often aims to block exits, trap launchers, and interrupt operations. That can be highly effective in the short term, but if the entrances can later be reopened, then some of the capability may come back. In other words, one side's success in burying the network does not automatically mean the network stays buried. The satellite images matter because they suggest Iran is now testing exactly how reversible that damage really was, and the timing is just as important as the engineering. Reporting says this tunnel clearing activity is taking place during a ceasefire or temporary pause. That tells us Iran is using the lull to restore strategic assets before the next round of pressure begins. That makes practical sense. Underground recovery work is easier when the skies are quieter, when machinery can be moved more openly, and when crews can operate without the same immediate risk of renewed attack. So this is not only a story about rebuilding, it is also a story about how states use pauses in conflict to prepare for what may come next. There is also a political message in this. Iran has long used the idea of missile cities as part of its image of resilience. Publicly showing underground launchers, tunnels, and hardened facilities serves both domestic and external purposes. It reassures supporters that strategic capability survives, and it warns opponents that strikes may not produce a clean result. So even limited visible recovery work can carry strategic weight. If new imagery shows blocked bases being reopened, Iran can argue that its underground model is doing exactly what it was designed to do: absorb punishment and endure. At the same time, this story should be handled carefully. The images do not prove that every missile city is fully rebuilt. They do not prove Iran has restored full launch capacity, and they do not erase the damage already done. Recent reporting still says many launchers remain unusable, drone stocks have been hit hard, and cruise missile numbers are lower than before. So the most accurate way to see this is not Iran is back to full strength. The better view is that Iran appears to be moving from survival to recovery, and that recovery itself is strategically significant. This is where the wider regional picture comes in. If Iran can recover buried launchers and restore even part of its underground network, then any future military planning against it becomes more difficult. Opponents would have to assume that some launch capacity survived and could return faster than expected. That changes calculations around deterrence, timing, and escalation. It also means that battlefield damage assessments made immediately after strikes may not tell the full story a few weeks later. Underground infrastructure has a way of looking destroyed at the entrance while still preserving value deeper inside. The satellite image side of this story matters too. Public commercial imagery has become one of the main ways outside analysts track what is happening at hardened sites. But reporting this month also says access to satellite imagery over Iran has become more restricted after U.S. government requests, especially from some private imagery companies. That means the public may actually be seeing less than analysts would normally want to see during a fast-moving crisis. In other words, the images that are available already matter a lot, and the gaps in visibility matter too. So what exactly do these new images reveal? They reveal motion. They reveal intent. They reveal that Iran is not treating its underground missile network as a lost cause. Crews, machinery, and debris removal at blocked entrances point to active recovery work, not abandonment. And when you combine that with intelligence reporting that many buried launchers may be recoverable, the broader picture becomes clearer. Iran appears to be trying to bring meaningful pieces of its missile infrastructure back into play. That is why this story matters beyond the images themselves. Missile cities are not just bunkers. They are part of Iran's long-term answer to military pressure. If they can be reopened after strikes, even partially, then Iran's deterrent is more resilient than some early claims suggested. If they cannot, then the recent damage may prove lasting. Right now, the new imagery points more toward reconstitution than collapse, not complete recovery, but active recovery. And that is a meaningful distinction. What should we watch next? First, whether more satellite images show repeated clearing activity at multiple underground sites. One entrance being cleared is notable. A pattern across several locations would be more important. Second, whether there are later signs of vehicle movement, launcher extraction, or repairs deeper into the complexes. Third, whether future intelligence reporting starts shifting from buried to recovered when describing Iran's launch systems. Those are the signs that would tell us whether this is surface cleanup or something more operational. The key point is simple. Iran's underground missile network appears damaged but not finished. New satellite images suggest Tehran is using the pause in fighting to reopen tunnel access and begin restoring parts of the infrastructure that supports its missile force. That does not mean Iran is back to where it was before. But it does mean the missile cities may still be doing what they were built to do: survive a strike and keep the door open for recovery. Subscribe for clear breakdowns on military news and geopolitics.